This week's impulse comes from a letter by the Apostle Paul to the church in Ephesus. He spoke into a world that, at first glance, seems far removed from ours, and yet is astonishingly similar. Ephesus was a wealthy, multicultural city. The famous temple of Artemis shaped not only religious life, but also economic and social systems. Rituals were performed there, combining idolatry with sexual excesses. Truth was relative, morals were flexible. Success, influence, and self-promotion were valued more than justice and integrity. In the midst of this world, Paul calls Christians to live differently. They were part of that society, but they were not to conform to it. You were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. That is a radical statement, not just living in darkness, but being darkness itself. And now comes the call. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the light consists in all goodness, righteousness, and truth. The transformation from old to new, from darkness to light, is not meant to be abstract theory, but visible in daily life, in goodness, active love, in righteousness, fair, responsible decisions, and in truth, living with sincerity and integrity. Lena has been working at a creative agency for 2 years. She enjoys her job. It's creative. She has responsibility and the team is young and dynamic. But there are downsides. Competition over time, a cutthroat mentality. You have to assert yourself till you're sick, a colleague once advised her. One day, Lena is working on a campaign for a new dietary supplement. She notices that the scientific claims being made are legally acceptable but highly misleading. Her boss waves her off. Everyone does it. The only thing that matters is convincing people. No one cares about the truth. Lena feels an inner conflict. She remembers a Bible verse her grandmother once wrote to her in a card. Walk as children of life. These words strike her like a beam of light. She thinks it over, struggles with herself, and finally decides to speak to her boss. Calmly, clearly, but firmly, she explains why she cannot support the project as it is. Her boss responds coolly, but thoughtfully. 2 days later, the campaign text is revised. And Lena feels even though she made herself vulnerable, she stayed true to her faith. She tried to live as a child of the light, in goodness, righteousness, and truth. Paul does not speak of a silent faith that remains hidden. Walk, this is active. It's about a life that can be seen. In a world often marked by darkness, lies, injustice, selfishness, light is not just helpful but essential. It offers direction, hope, and clarity. Today, the temptation to conform is strong. On social media, it's all about image, often far from truth. In school or at work, it's easier to stay silent than to speak up. In relationships, we tend to close ourselves off instead of loving openly. But light changes things. It brings hidden things to light. It gives life. Paul isn't calling us to moral perfectionism, but to a life connected with Christ. The light we share is not our own. It is the light of God shining through us, and its fruit appears in small, concrete acts and honest truth spoken, a courageous step toward reconciliation, a helping hand unseen. God, you have called me out of darkness into your wonderful light. It's often easier to conform, go along, look away, but you call me to more, to a life of goodness, righteousness, and truth. Give me courage to be a light in my thoughts, words, and actions. Let others see something of you through my life. Amen.